one of the worst drivers I've ever seen, and I just want you all to know that if you're ever on the highway behind me, I hear you honking, and I also don't want me to be doing what I'm doing. I don't like that I'm in that lane either, and I sure would like to get out of it.
What's the deal, YouTube? It is your boy Sport Mode back with another vlog. And if you are tuning in, the very first thing I want to do is say thank you, because you could have did a multitude of other things, but the very fact that you taking a minute to chill with me, I appreciate it, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Truckers be lonely till we get home. So with that being said, if you clicked on this video, I first want to congratulate you, because that means that you either have or about to make the decision to take your fate and your income into your own control, because you want to book your own loads. And you came to the right place. I'm going to show you a couple of the strategies that I utilize, as well as a few formulas that can help you to be more profitable and more efficient when you're out there on the road. All I ask is that at the end of this video, if you find it useful, please don't hold back. Go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can be alerted every time I'm bringing you this dope information. You know what I'm saying? And if it's not too much to ask, man, be interactive with me. I just told you I'm a lonely trucker till I get home. So any comment that you leave, I will respond. And I do appreciate likes or dislikes. You know, give me even some advice or room for improvement if you feel like I need to do a better job. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So, you just got your login information. Your password just got confirmed. I know you're ready to get on DAT, see what the loads is about, see if everything that everybody been saying is true. Is it really more money when you pick your own loads? Or is it more of a headache? Haggling with brokers, trying to figure out what the cents per mile is, what you need to run for, what you need to bid at. That's why it's important before we even move forward that we establish a foundation. Long before you call a broker or even as much as look at a load, it's something that you need to do. And I brought my trusty pen out so I can show you exactly what that is. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and just dive right into it. Usually when I'm having these type of conversations with somebody that's on the fence about becoming an owner operator, or possibly on the fence about starting their own authority, the number one question that I always get presented is, how do you deal with the brokers? Guys want to know, how do I know how much to bid? How do I know how much is too much? How do I know how much is too less? And before we even get into, some of the load boards and the tools that they offer to help you figure this number out, long before you even start doing that, you need to know what your numbers are. This is a terminology that you're going to hear a lot when you're watching trucker videos, mainly because when we refer to your numbers, we're talking about what your expenses are. And nobody can give you a formula or a set of numbers that's universal to everybody. We all have different expenses, we all have different interests, and we all have different cost of business. But a good place to start before you even get to your cost of business is, what is your cost of living? In order to find out your cost of living, essentially what you're going to do is take into consideration what all of your expenses are for the last 30 days. Of these expenses, what are fixed expenses that's going to be reoccurring no matter what, and what are some of your variable expenses, which are subject to either go up and down, or if they may even exist this week or next month. Only you know this. So that's why no one can just create a set number and it's just applicable to everybody. But what I can show you how to do is figure out what your numbers are. And just as a forewarning, don't take these numbers as completely literal. This is simply for an exercise. Okay, guys, so when figuring out what your cost of living is, once again, you just want to have an idea of what your fixed expenses are and what your variable expenses are. Now, due to the sake of time and as well as limited space, as you can see, I won't be able to go through every single thing on the list, but what I will be able to do is just name off a couple examples that should put you in the right mind frame as to what it is that you need to figure out. So an example of a fixed expense, meaning reoccurring, meaning the amount is going to be the exact same on a monthly basis, could be, you know, your rent or your mortgage. Another example could be your car note. And then going over into the variable side, right? An expense that's constantly changing, usually not the same, could be your utilities. You know, that change with the seasons. As well as can be your food consumption. You know, I don't know anybody that spends the exact same amount on food every single week. And if you do, my hats are off to you. My hat is off to you because you are incredible. But anyway, don't really pay too much attention to these numbers because just for the sake of this exercise, we're going to keep everything simple. So we're going to say that the rent is $1,000, the car note is $1,000. Yes, that's a Mercedes. And we're going to say that the utilities are $1,000 and food is $1,000. So far, our living expenses is $4,000. That's that. The next thing we want to do is cross over to the business side and figure out what our cost of operation is. So the most appropriate fixed expense could be your truck note. And forgive my handwriting, guys. I'm writing on the phone, so I promise you I actually write better than this. But anyway, we're going to put that at $1,000 too. Another fixed expense could be insurance. And we're going to just say that that is $1,000. And an example of a variable expense, meaning that it changes, we can say fuel. I'm going to put that at $1,000 too. And you guys pretty much get the drift. I don't have to keep just looking for stuff to put down there. And if you total it up, that's $3,000. Right? So what you want to do is you want to take this number and this number and add them. And that's going to give us a total of, you guessed it, $7,000. So with that, now that we have an idea of what our expenses is, which your list should be a lot longer than this. And if it's not, kudos to you. Now that you know what your costs are going to be, the next thing that you want to figure out is how do you actually get to that number? Because this is what you're going to be on the road for. This is what you're going to be working for. So we're going to take that $7,000 and then we're going to divide it by 4. 4 because it's 4 weeks in a month. And you need to know what you need to make on a weekly basis. If you divide $7,000 into 4 weeks, that's going to come up to $1,750 per week. Okay, now we're actually getting somewhere. So the next step is, as a driver, you want to have an idea of how many miles you want to run. You know, it don't have to be completely accurate, but you want it to be applicable to your situation. Meaning, if you're a local driver, then you're probably going to want to drive anywhere from 500 to 1,500 miles per week. If you are a regional driver, then that number is going to change. You may drive anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 miles per week. And if you are an OTR driver, then it can range again from anywhere 2,000 miles to 3,500 miles a week. if that's possible. But just to show you how this looks, if we have $1,750 and we drive, let's just say regional, so we want to put up about 2,000 miles at the minimum per week, right? Oh, actually, gotta throw the action symbol in there. So we're gonna take $1,750 and we're gonna divide that by the amount of miles that we want to run for that week. Voila, 0.875. Or when you put this in regards to money, this is roughly 88 cents per mile. Now you have an idea of the cent per mile that you need to request when you're talking to brokers. That's just a baseline. That's your personal number. This number doesn't apply to the broker because they don't know what your expenses are, and for the most part, they probably don't even care. But this lays your foundation. So now you know at the very minimum, you need to request at least 88 cents per mile, and anything above that is profit. But not just profit to you, but profit to your business. And that's where a lot of guys get caught up at, and that's why a lot of owner operators fail, because they don't know how to calculate all of the numbers, as well as the additional sums that you're going to need to grow, because you can't just stay the same. The cost of living and inflation is continuously going up, so you have to be able to account for that. But okay, I'm blabbering now. We had 88 cents per mile, and for those of you who are not fluent with math, and I'm trust me, I'm not taking no credit because I'm not all that fluent either, but what we have is point, so we know that this is cents, and you already know that that 5 means you round up, so that's 88 cents. Figured I'll explain that for you. But now we got some traction. Now we know what it is that we need when we go out here on the road. So now let's look at some lows. This is just an example of some of the lows that's relative to where I was running for this week. But let's just say if you're from Detroit like me, or Oak Park, because I'm on 8 Mile, you go in there and you do a search, and matter of fact, let's go into the load board and figure out some of the things that you need to take into consideration. Number one is the origin. Where are you starting from? Right? And this is subject to change. You don't have to actually be there to get a gist of what the numbers look like for that area. Right? And then once you know where you're at, how far are you willing to go pick up that load? And this is deadhead. When you see the O next to it, that's a deadhead for the point of origin, right? So that's something else that you're gonna have to take into consideration, and I'm gonna show you how. The next thing is the destination. Where do you want to go? So based off of my studies and research, matter of fact, I'll just show you, right, why I choose Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, and Ohio. So long before I started searching for a load, something that I like to do is get an idea of what the market looks like for the area that I'm prospecting. And if you utilize DAT Trucker's Edge, I know that it's different tools and amenities that come with the type of service that you get. So if you are up, as you can see that I need to charge my phone. But if you are going to utilize a tool like this, me personally, I say if it's going to make you money, then you might as well go ahead and spend a little bit more money. It's only going to be a difference in just a few dollars, or depending on the package that you buy. So what is this for all of those who've never been on here before? What this is a national load count, and it's going to show you how many loads are going into that state, and it's going to show you how many loads are going out of that state, right? So just for an example, if we look at Alaska, the very first one, it shows that it's 6 loads going here, but it's 0 loads going out. And why is that important? That's important so that when you just seeing a load board and you seeing all of these ridiculous numbers that your dispatcher never showed to you when you were a company driver, and how much they were really getting paid, you don't want to be tempted to simply take a load because it's paying well. You want to also make sure before you take that load that you have an opportunity to get out of the destination that you're going to. So this is a bad situation right here. We don't want to go in Alaska because there's no loads going out. So therefore, if we go to Alaska, we're going to be stuck. Let's take Alabama, for example, too. Alabama has 457 loads delivering to that state. However, they only have, let's back up. They only have 271 loads going out of that state. So what does this mean? That means that in order for that 457 loads to get to that state, that's 457 trucks that's going to be arriving in Alabama. However, they're going to be surprised or disappointed unless they, doing exactly what I'm showing you guys, to find out that there are only 271 loads leaving out of that state. So that means it's going to be more trucks than available loads leaving out. Therefore, that is a bad predicament. You do not want to be in a state like that. And just to give you a better example of a situation that is like that, let's scroll on down to Florida. I'm quite sure I passed it. Here we go. Florida has 1,997 loads delivering into that state. So that's nearly 2,000 trucks that's going to be down there. Unfortunately, only 224 of those trucks are going to be leaving out with a load. And another thing to take into consideration as well is this is all information that you can utilize for bargaining and negotiating a load. When you see that a state has way more trucks than loads that are available to get out of that state, essentially what this does is put the ball in the broker's court. They don't have to pay high loads because they know that anybody who is lucky enough to get any of the 224 loads is blessed, right? So those loads are going to be very, very low, right? Now let's show you an opposite of that, which is why I chose the states that I run to. Let's take Illinois for an example. Illinois has 947 loads delivering into that state. However, they have 1,196 loads going out of that state. So even though they're only going to have approximately 950 trucks, they need 1,200 trucks. So what does this mean? That means that is more bargaining room and negotiating room for me. I know when I speak to the broker that they don't have enough trucks in this state to get all of these loads out. So therefore, the ball is in my court now. And now the broker has to do a little bit more flexing in order to accommodate me so that they can get that load out of that state. So this is the easy way to do it on DAT Loadboard, which I'll probably go over in another video. They have some other tools that give you even more data, even more analytics that you could take into consideration when choosing a load. But as I promised you guys, we were going to go over all of the basics to make sure that you know what you're doing as a rookie, or just somebody that's new to the load board, right? One more example, California, 2,337 loads delivering into that state. However, they are exporting 2,735. So that's roughly 400 more loads than is going out, which requires 400 more trucks. If you understand what I'm saying. Click on that. Once again. Now, this one probably looks a little different because the first app that I was showing you is the mobile app for the DAT Loadboard. And this one right here, I'm actually online as we speak and as I record this, right? So let's put our origin as of right now. I am in Marion, Indiana. I'm actually down here to get some work done to my truck. Originally, I started out in Terre Haute, delivering to a federal prison. So that was fun. But anyway, and our deadhead from the point of origin, we're willing to travel up to 150 miles of deadhead. And the destination obviously is Illinois, because we know that there's a lot of freight there. And we're willing to deadhead up to 150 miles. But if you're not putting a city there, the deadhead really not even being calculated. That's why it's showing gray, right? And then you click on whether or not you want a perspective of the load board to be general, or do you want it to be specific to what you're saying, right? Now let's change the origin. We're going to change that to Indiana, just for the sake of this example. Going to Illinois. We're going to be general because we're flexible, right? Truck type. That really mean what type of container, what type of trailer do you have, right? I do drive-in, so we're going to stick with that. Click out of there. Then, do you want a full load or do you want a partial load? I just usually say both, because, hey, if a partial load is light and paying enough, ain't no point in putting nothing else on there, unless you're just trying to maximize. And then we're going to put our search date, right? As you can see, it's 10:28 at night, so we're not really looking for nothing that's tonight. We're going to look for tomorrow. And then we're going to hit search, and it's going to pull up all of the loads that either fit my specification or is even close to it. So out of the search qualities that I put in, there are 135 exact loads that's going to be starting in Indiana and going to Illinois. But as you can see, they have 228 total loads. So all that means is there's going to be some loads that's maybe not exactly where I want to be at, but within a general proximity. And once again, this is just for an example, so I'm not like actually searching through every single load. However, we're going to choose a decent one, right? So what I love about the DAT load board, because this is very helpful for guys who's just starting out. When you're trying to get an idea, what should I bid on a load? How much is too much? How much is too less? Well, they do what's known as a 15-day average, and it's going to show you a roundabout number of what this load has been paying out to run this lane. And fortunately, on this one, they actually even offering something. So as you can see, what they're offering is not too far off from what they've been paying. It's only like $48 off. So that shows me that this load has sold for roughly about $14.50. Because if it's an average, that means that some has went above this and some has went below this, which makes this the middle number. So I'm assuming that the middle number is usually probably $13.50. But anyway, this load is picking up in Poiseyville, Indiana, and it's going to be delivering to Sterling, Illinois. And that is approximately 347 miles. So a few other things to take into consideration is who you're hauling for. This is the MC number in case you want to run their credit. Plus, according to DAT, they only got 1 star on here, but the credit score is 97. That's how many days it's going to take for them to pay you if you have your own authority. The pickup date, which is tomorrow. The pickup hours, It's from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. This is sounding real good. We got pretty much all day to pick this load up. Dock hours. This is like when you deliver. This is going to be on the 7th, which is the day after tomorrow, and they're telling you, which, you know, they're pretty descriptive. Not all brokers give this much information, that you're going to be delivering early a.m., which is pretty good, because that means you're going to have enough time to get another load. Whether or not it's full or partial, it's a full load, so you can't add anything else to it. And as far as truck, remember they're talking about the trailer. And sometimes they have like special accommodations for whatever it is that they're hauling. They said that it can be a reefer, and if it's not a reefer, then it has to be a vented van. These are all of the things that you want to take into consideration, because so you don't book the wrong load. If you show up with a van, a dry van that's not vented, there's a possibility that you can be turned around and denied, and the broker is not going to cover any of the cost of you getting there, just based off of the fact that he put it in the description exactly what trailer that they were looking for. And 9 times out of 10, when you speak to them, they're going to tell you too. So they required a length of the van to be at least 53 feet. The commodity, which they were generous enough to give us a description, is pumpkins. You're going to be hauling pumpkins. And then they give you, you know, a call to action as far as what you need to do in order to book this load. Call Richard, and to book, you know, this is the number. Okay, that's that. I know a lot of this information is proprietary, so we are not going to go too much into this app, because I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, but you pretty much get an idea of what to look for. But let's get back to the business. They're offering $1,350 to cover this load. In exchange, you would travel 347 miles. So, does this work for you? Now, I do got a feeling that I'm going to regret ever saying this, but I do think it's necessary to let, you know, owner-operators know this when they're starting out. The 15-day average is $1,398. So they show you that the load has sold for more than that. But we don't know what the factors were that made them pay, you know, over $1,398 to get that load moved. So just because you see that the number is slightly higher, that don't always mean that the number is available to you. So we're going to keep it simple. And usually a good way to start out when you're new and you're trying to establish relationships with the brokers is, you know, you don't want to haul for cheap, but, you know, you don't want to do too much haggling because you want to get your foot in the door. So we're going to stick with this number. Let's just say that we called and, you know, well, let's do the math first. We got $1,350 and we got 347 miles. Now, we already know that our operating cost is roughly 88 cents per mile, right? So, this is why this is important. The next step, you're going to take the amount of money that is being offered to cover this load, or the amount of money that you're considering offering to cover this load. You take that number, 1,350, and then you divide it by the amount of miles that you have to travel to complete this load. 347. That equals $3.89 per mile. So keep in mind, your base number is 88 cents per mile. I would say that you're doing pretty damn good to get 3.89 cents per mile, right? And this is why it's important to know your numbers, because you only you will know when the numbers that the load is paying exceeds or meets the amount of money that you need to get that truck rolling. So $3.89. Even though this is an example, me personally, I would be calling this number to book this load if I was in any proximity of Poiseyville, Indiana. I would go ahead and knock that out. Okay, now that we've completed our exercise and we have a working example as to what we can do to have an idea of the target that we need to hit when we're booking our loads. These are just a couple formulas that you can utilize to help you remember how to calculate what your expenses are so that you have an idea of the quota that you need to hit in order to accomplish your day-to-day living. So if you remember, we took our living expenses and we took our operating costs and we added that. And you just take those two numbers or the sum total and divide that by the amount of miles that you're looking to drive each week. And that'll help you come up with expenses. Or we could just say total operating costs. Okay, cool. And the next formula, when you're trying to figure out exactly how much a load pays down to the cents per mile, what you would do is you would take the, let's say, offer, oh, and divide that by your total miles. And the reason I'm saying total miles, because you also have to include your deadhead in that if you have any. And that equals cent per mile. Well, with that, I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. This was one of the longer videos, but I sure hope that you guys agree with me that it was most certainly necessary to see a working example and how to determine some of the factors when you're choosing a load. And ultimately, I hope that this video can help owner operators or guys that's considering becoming owner operators to be more profitable and also a lot more conscious when they're choosing loads. You can't just be going any and everywhere and driving for any and everything. You have to have a strategy, a plan that's customized and modified to accommodate your living circumstances. So if you made it all the way up until this point, I want to say thank you because I know it was a lot of talking. And if you find this video useful, do your boy a favor, man, and go ahead and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when I drop a video, which I'm going to be doing a lot more often. And leave a like or a dislike and a comment. If you think I covered everything that you need to know, let me know that, man. That it's fulfilling and satisfying to know that it's a purpose attached to these videos that I'm trying to do. And if you feel like I left some stuff out, please feel free to help the other viewers so that they can look down in the comments and see some of the things that I may have missed. But with that, y'all already know, man, seeing is believing. And the minute that you can begin to visualize and put that vision into your head, that's the minute that it becomes achievable. And everything is accomplishable with a plan. So with that, I hope that you guys be safe, keep on trucking, and as long as you got 18 wheels, you got 18 ways. Y'all, take it easy.